and welcome to today's remote edition of Cronkite Sports Now. I'm your host, Lauren Colville. Today's top story, the Sun Devils men's basketball team has landed their highest ranked recruit since James Harden for next season. Shooting guard Joshua Christopher is a 5-star recruit and ESPN's number 10 out of 100 for the 2020 season. The soon-to-be Mayfair grad will be joining Sheldon High's 4-star recruit Marcus Bagley in a Sun Devil uniform next season. How does this impact the program for the future? Sun Devil source writer Chris Cartman says that this is a huge plus for the ASU program.
Every major recruit that you get makes it a little bit easier to get the next ones. And ultimately, ASU is trying to level up as a program. And the only way that you're really going to be able to do that is you're going to be able to take on and beat some of the top programs around the country on the recruiting trail. And so to be able to do that for a 5-star guard is a demonstration that there's progress that's being really made within your program and that they have the ability to be successful in subsequent high-profile battles as well.
In the professional sports world, one athlete is learning the consequences of his actions off the track. NASCAR driver Kyle Larson was fired by Chip Ganassi Racing after using a racial slur during a live iRacing event on Sunday evening. This morning, the team released the following statement. After much consideration, Chip Ganassi Racing has determined that it will end its relationship with driver Kyle Larson. As we said before, the comments that Kyle made were both offensive and unacceptable, especially given the values of our organization. As we continue to evaluate the situation with all relevant parties, it became obvious that this was the only appropriate course of action to take. The immediate punishment was handed down by NASCAR on Monday, which was an indefinite suspension. Larson issued this apology following the suspension. We want to know what you think. Head on over to our Cronkite Sports Twitter page to vote. Was this punishment valid, or do you think Larson deserves a second chance? It was announced earlier this week that the Indoor Football League has canceled its upcoming 2020 season, which means no Arizona Rattlers football until 2021. Along with that cancellation, the 18th annual Native American Basketball Invitational was also canceled. The tournament was set to take place in late June in Phoenix. Sports on all levels have come to a standstill due to coronavirus. Even your neighborhood Little League has postponed games. But how are parents and leagues coping with the sudden loss of a season? Our Sarandon Raboyne stepped onto the plate to find out.
Baseball and softball equipment is getting put away due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Seasons across the country are being canceled, and it's no different for Arcadia Little League.
The week that they closed schools was our first week of games. It was supposed to start on March 16th. So we really kind of wanted to get just any kind of, get those kids on the field. They had practices, but it's definitely not, game time.
Parents like Amy and Chad Eves are starting to wonder what the impact of the lack of sports will be on their son, Alex.
I do miss I think what sports gives is it's a certain level of discipline that he's missing right now. That's what I think.
But the people in charge of Arcadia Little League are still trying to make something happen for the kids affected.
We would love to get the kids out there, even if it's for an afternoon, but we're thinking about maybe just a pickup wiffle ball game or maybe like a home run derby that we can do just so we can get some kind of, love for the game back out there.
Just because there's no season to play right now doesn't mean the kids can't practice their skills at home.
Tee out and you can use your wiffle balls and you can set up a net or you can throw the ball against a lot of us have block walls in Arizona. You can take a piece of chalk and you can make yourself a bullseye and you can go, okay, maybe you have a brother or a sister and, you can go, okay, so home run is this little box here and, you can make it like a game of darts. You just have to have that imagination.
If a kid was signed up for Arcadia Little League, make sure to check their website with any updates of future events. Reporting for Cronkite Sports, I'm Serena Raboyne.
For today's Arizona Sports Rewind story, we aren't traveling back far, but it's definitely a day that longtime Suns fans are familiar with. Cronkite News reporter Josh Schaefer joined me to talk about the day that John McLeod, the winningest coach in Suns history, passed away at the age of 81 after a decades-long battle with Alzheimer's disease. All right, so on this day in Arizona sports history a year ago, can you tell me what happened?
So 1 year ago today, legendary Suns coach John McLeod passed away of Alzheimer's. And he went down as the winningest coach in franchise history and made a huge impact on both the Valley here in Arizona and on the NBA as a whole.
And I know that you had the opportunity to talk to his son. Now, his son was young when he was coaching in the NBA, but he had the opportunity to play for him at Notre Dame. How did that shape their relationship when he realized, wow, he is a basketball coach, even when it wasn't at the Suns, that he had the opportunity to learn from him?
Well, for John's son, Matt, he, like you said, he was young growing up. So he was always just dad first. So he remembers when he was old enough to really understand like what job his dad had and how important some specific games were. He remembers a couple losses to the Lakers when he was a kid, and he was upset, and his mom would watch the game on TV or listen on the radio and would be upset at the loss. But John would come home and he was just dad. And then years later, when his dad went to Notre Dame and they moved to Indiana, and then Matt got a chance to go to Notre Dame and he was a walk-on on the basketball team, he got to see his dad firsthand, both as a basketball coach and a leader and a mentor to so many young men. And what was special for Matt, he said that it was really interesting because he would go into the gym and his dad was his coach, and he was Coach McLeod first. And as soon as they blew that final whistle, as soon as the game ended or the second practice ended and they left the gym, he was back to being dad. And he said that one thing that his dad did so perfectly was he never let, his son be his son on the court and a player at the same time. He always kept those two separate. And it was something that Matt always admired about his father.
And was there something that Matt said that he hoped that people remembered about him in general, whether it be his coaching style or him as a person?
He said that he always thought his father's best characteristic was his calmness. And he was like that both on the court and off the court. He was very self-disciplined. He was always dedicated to whatever he was doing at the time. And through all of that dedication and focus and whatever it might be, he was always very calm and relaxed. And one thing that both Matt pointed out, and if you go back and you watch footage of that 1976 NBA Finals against the Celtics, Coach McLeod is always very calm. There's one clip on the internet of him drawing up plays and writing with a marker on the floor. And he's in the chaos of overtime at the Boston Garden with a team that barely made the playoffs in the first place. He's never too high. He's never too low. He's always right in the middle. And he always seems relaxed and composed in the toughest situations. And Matt said that was always something that really stood out about his father.
Be sure to head on over to our Twitter @SportsCronkite to vote in the March Madness Sports Movie Bracket. Each day, a new region will be released, so be sure to vote for your favorites to advance. For top Arizona sports stories from around the Valley, visit the Cronkite Sports tab on arizonasports.com. And as always, for top Arizona news stories, head on over to our website, cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Thank you all for joining me so much. Stay safe and have a great Tuesday evening.